This is something I wanted to start doing after church. And I guess the idea kind of came to me when I was leaving church one day. And we're going to call it hashtag after church. And it's based on the idea that as believers, we need to not only be receivers and hearers of the word, but we also need to be reproducers. Like what we see and hear in church and the pastor's preaching on and we're getting revelation from, we should be sharing with other people, simply because these people that we are potentially sharing with, we may be the only Jesus they see in their lives. We might be the only church that they hear and see. So today at church, it's the beginning of the year, so naturally, I'm sure every pastor across the country, all over the world, is preaching, out of Habakkuk. I hope I'm saying that right. I never really knew how to say that book. 2:2, where God says to write the vision and make it plain so that he who sees it may run with it. And so the series that we started is called Taking Ground. And the idea is that you take ground in this new year. And taking ground simply means to advance, to conquer, to gain victory, to make progress. So this year we are trying to advance, conquer, the different areas of our lives, relationships, finances, being single, being married, being pure, all the things that we struggled with in 2015. We're going to take ground in those in 2016. So I just want to share what he was saying and some of the things that I wrote down. And hopefully they blessed you as much as they blessed me. I needed this sermon this particular Sunday. So one of the things I wrote down was, God, the question that I'm asking God right now, it's the beginning of the year, is, God, what is your vision for my life in 2016? It's one thing to make goals, because everybody knows you're supposed to make goals at the beginning of the year. There's a million blogs on it. There's people preaching about it. There's every, what do you call them? Motivational speaker is saying that, all the successful millionaires and billionaires are saying, no, that's what successful people do. They make goals. But there's a difference between making goals and writing down God's vision for your life. The goals that you set are not to be mean in any way, but they're selfish. These are goals that you specifically set for you. And the vision that God has for you is always, it's going to be for you, but it's always going to be past you as well. Like the vision that he has for you is not only going to bless you, but it's going to bless the people around you and in front of you and behind you and to the sides and all that jazz. So I would encourage everyone to ask God, okay, this is the new year. I slacked off a little in that last year, or even, God, I did awesome in that last year. How are we tackling this year? How are we taking ground this year? And the second thing I wrote down was, did you lose some ground in 2015? And for me personally, I'll be honest, you guys, like beginning of the year, I'll say first 6 months of the year, I was on fire. I was on fire. Like I was legitimate, just on fire, like real good. And then sometime in the middle of that year, I got distracted. I got discontent. And it was like, once it started, I couldn't quite catch up. Like, I settled. I got to this point where even in my fitness, like, I was working out like a queen every day, like, doing so good. And just kind of hit this period where I settled. And I never got back up. I got comfortable. Comfortability, being comfortable is such a trap. God did not make us to be these comfortable people, these comfortable Christians. If he wanted us to be comfortable, he wouldn't have given the Holy Spirit as a comforter. If you're comfortable, you don't need a comforter. Just saying. So in 2015, I had like savings goals. And right when I hit that spot to settle in, it was like my savings stopped, went backwards. It was just not good. I had this weariness to like opening my Bible. I'll be perfectly honest with you guys. I went through this short period, not too long ago, where I was like hiding from God. And I know to Christians, this sounds silly as all get out because God sees everything. He's everywhere. But I had gotten down enough that I was like, well, I'm just not going to go to church for a little bit because I'm hiding from God. And the logic of it was completely crazy. being a believer, I knew it was, but I was like, God, I need to be found, so I'm gonna hide till you come find me. And I got lax in my, like I said, in being healthy. I had gotten to a place where I was like gung-ho for fruits and veggies, bad meat, have meat 2 times a week at most, and eating tons of fruits and vegetables. And then it was like I took one bite of a burger and never looked back. And then relationships. I'll say this much about relationships. I've learned a lot about relationships this year. But I was looking at like my friends, going through them in my mind, and I thought, I haven't really gained any new friends this year, and that's weird for me, because I always do. So what happened? I will say this much, some toxic relationships that were in my life got cut. I was like, hey, pat yourself on the back. Props, Kiki. Props. Oh, okay. And so the second part of the sermon, he goes into transition. So we have now transitioned from 2015 to 2016. And the example he uses is Joshua 1:1, where the Israelites are now transitioning in leadership from Moses to Joshua. And if you're thinking about this for Joshua, so say when you were, I'm about to be 26 in like a week. Whoa. Say you, when you were 16, God gave you a vision. When I was 17, God gave me a vision of something that he wanted me to do. And for Joshua, he got his vision like young, like, you know, he knew that he was gonna help the Israelites and be this guy. And then the Israelites, we all know the story, they ended up in the desert for 40 years. So he's now 60 something and is just now seeing the fruit of that vision. Like, can you imagine waiting 40 years? So the illustration the pastor gave, and I really liked it, was, okay, we write our goals list, and say on that goals list, it's lose 5 pounds. Now, how many times have we started being healthy at the beginning of the year, and then we cut it out somewhere in the middle, and we don't lose that weight? And we keep taking that goal and putting it on to the next year, and on to the next year, and on to the next year, and on to the next year. So that's what he was doing. He was taking that goal of one day, you know, claiming the land that God has promised the Israelites. He writes it on his goals list, and for 40 years, he's looking at that same goal. Like, can you imagine for 40 years? Like, my goals list, I would say they stay the same for tops, maybe 2 years before I'm like, okay, we need to come up with a different goal then if we're for some reason not accomplishing this one. And for 40 years, he stood on that promise. So, transition wise, I'm sure like deep down he was probably like, about time, Jesus. But I mean, he took it graciously. God told him to be brave, be courageous, and he was. And with that, transitions are only as good as you make them. I am about to transition into a new position at my job this year, and I'll be honest, like, I had gotten really comfortable in my own position. So comfortable that the idea of transitioning to a new position, I'd shut the door on it, locked it, and was about to set it on fire, so there was no door. And God had to pull me back and be like, Kiana, do you like understand how comfortable you are? Like, you are so stagnant right now. I didn't make you to be that way. So yeah, transitions are as good as you make them good, be graceful, run into it headstrong. If God gave you a vision, the provision is already there. Don't worry about it. If God gave you a vision to start a business, the provision is there, but he does want you to start moving. Like, he can't drive a parked car. Nobody can. My mom has been telling me this all 2015. Like, that was her nugget for 2015 was God can't drive a parked car. If he is telling you to do something, get up and take the steps. Like, you can't just sit there and expect him to take the parked car and move it. No, you actually have to start the car and start driving and then let him guide you. So, the third part of the sermon was, why do we miss God's vision sometimes? And 2 of these definitely spoke to me completely and totally. The first one was shame. For shame. Shame, 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 shame. Because we didn't accomplish the first set of visions, the first set of goals, we're so ashamed about that. Oh God, I didn't lose the first 5. How can I lose 15? Oh God, I didn't start that business when you told me to. How can I possibly do it now? Like, it just, we carry that shame, and all of us know, especially, I mean, not all of us, but seasoned believers, even new believers, there's no condemnation in Jesus Christ. So there's no reason for you to be carrying that shame. He forgives you. You were disobedient. Boo, wah. He forgives you. Get up and go do what he told you to do. Pick yourself up and go do what he told you to do. The second was a settled mindset. And this one was me. I got comfortable. We get comfortable. We get settled into that feeling of shame or that feeling of defeat or that feeling of fear. That was a big one for me. God had told me to do a couple things and I was scared. Like, it really shocked me to realize I was scared. I was scared of nothing. So that blew my mind. It just, where you get settled, you'll stop. Where you get settled at, you'll die. You feel me? Like, a part of the reason we stay healthy, the reason we stay successful is because we constantly are looking for growth, constantly looking to do better and be better. And when you stop doing that, you slowly start to die. Like, it's very serious. It's very serious. It's a mental thing, and it will literally spread like physically. It will go from mentally to physically, and you will die from settling. Don't do that. I would hate for you to get to heaven. Everybody's like, man, I died because of this and I died because of that. I died because I stopped. I settled. If there's breath in your lungs, there's ground for you to take. If there's breath in your lungs, there's growth for you. Find it, follow it, grow. Another thing, and this is for, Christians completely, don't get settled in old praise reports. It's okay to encourage yourself, but don't settle there. Ooh, I had faith in this area and God came through. I'm good. No, you're not. Next. Like, that shouldn't be your one testimony that you have at the end of the day for the rest of your life. Yeah, there was that one time, 15 years ago when I needed to get into OU and God helped me do it. No. Moving along. The third one was busyness. And this wasn't a huge one for me, but I know this is for a lot of people. Busyness will keep you from experiencing kingdom experiences and kingdom assignments because you're so busy doing good, you aren't pursuing what God wants you to pursue. So be careful that you are following God and not your own motives. And then he went on to just say all the things that God's vision gives. Like, there's no downside to going and figuring out what God's vision for your life is. God's vision gives life to something dead or dormant. God's vision gives boldness to be who God made you to be. God's vision gives purpose to your pain. That one hit me hard because I went through a little bit of pain this year. And I was like, there has to be a reason for this. There better be a reason for this. And I am believing God that he shows me the reason for this, that the pain that I went through, I can use to help other people because I wouldn't wish that pain on a dog. God's vision gives grace to whatever you face. That rhymes. God's vision gives creativity to supersede the circumstances you face. I'll say it slowly. God's vision gives creativity to supersede the circumstances you face. So say God tells you, big fat for instance, to start a YouTube channel. And you're like, God, I don't know how. I've never done it before. I have no equipment. How would I do this? And he shows you how. Start small. Start where you can. If you have to borrow somebody's stuff, do it. But do it. God's vision gives perseverance through the process. Y'all, there's a process. There's always going to be a process. There's always going to be a process because God loves a good process because he knows it makes us grow. It makes us rely and depend on him. He loves a process. So get used to that. There's going to be a process, but his vision helps you persevere through the process. If you have no vision to where you're going, you'll stop. You'll be in the middle of the process like, why am I doing this again? Oh, right. I'm not going to do it anymore. God's vision gives hope during the difficult days. At the end of this year, I would say the last month of this year, that was a key word for me. I needed hope because I was like, God, I ain't got nothing left. I have nothing left. I needed hope. And he definitely gave it to me. God's vision gives fresh fire to work harder, go farther, and run longer than you have before. When you have his vision in front of you, it's like this boost of B12. You are just on it. You're better. God's vision gives value to his unique calling in your life. You no longer worry about what somebody else is doing. You know what? I'll go even further into that. There are a million YouTube channels out there for this and for that and that and that, for beauty, for fashion, for, you know, making money, for having a YouTube channel, for preaching and all this stuff. You stop worrying about what other people are doing in your line, because God has given value, God's vision has given value to what you specifically are doing. I actually heard this last part on the radio, like, to go with that, and I thought, that's so good. Don't be in a hurry to rush to a platform that's already yours. So I would tie those two together just by saying that, you know, you yourself, you can reach an audience, you can do something that nobody else can do. There's a reason he created you to be so-and-so, 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 and not this person. God created me to be Kiana Marquis Billups, and I can only succeed at the vision he's given me if I'm trying to be me, not somebody else. So it doesn't bother me that there's another girl doing a YouTube channel for Christians, because she's reaching people I can't reach, and I'm reaching people she can't reach. God's vision gives provision to you and through you. He not only is providing for you, but by providing for you, he is helping you to provide for other people. You don't know what that woman in the grocery store needed that day when God told you to pay for her groceries, when God said, hey, give her $40. You don't know what she was believing for. You don't know if that was the final straw for her. She was saying, you know what, God, if you can't provide for me and get these groceries, guess what? We're done. I don't want to be a Christian no more because I'm hungry. And you came through. You were Jesus for her that day. So when God is telling you to do something like that, don't ever, ever, ever be afraid to do it. God's vision is there, and his vision is true, and it's perfect. His vision is to give you hope in a future, and not just you, but the people that you'll help. So that is the first hashtag after church that of this year. I can't wait to do more. I really do. I love writing down notes and thinking, oh my God, this is for so-and-so. I encourage everybody to be reproducers of the word. When you're in church and you're taking notes, don't forget that it's not just for you to go back and look over these notes and study them. This is for somebody else as well. And don't be afraid to share that. Churches are not secret cults. We should not be, oh, well, I heard this in my church. I'm not going to tell you what I heard. No, his word is meant to be reproduced and shared all over the world. So never be afraid to do that. And everybody have a blessed Sunday. It's been a blast.